akwa baba ye the Punch TV so me so say any day di kind na dey hwe channel ya obe subscribe dey ama ye no like no share we so ja wadwen share or comment section ho eso e dey akan ho so wa subscribe so that you beka say nyankopon on show on tre wa shim abusuan for sam ya make say story be na theater for mama nkofo twene selani abasa social media no so dey okọ ho ache say baby abefa bia enam ho ene che say the Punch TV so dey emfa nkame ya hwefo nti eso akọfa story na yeso dey abra ya hwefo say omonje no munti no mo so nhwe bi no munti nsema yakoso ewo ye Ghana aiwe abusuan for ma enko ni nkoti asem no emra ye ba ye de mu nche mu nyina esa ebebrem
going to happen.
But our constitution is specific
Christians
against discrimination.
I said Christians for what discrimination. Let's go to Parliament. The two dominant parties had 137 in Parliament. The first day, didn't you see the fight? Until the independent candidate declared for MPP party, there was a fight about who should form the majority and who should be minority. So that will tell you that in democracy, minority cannot rule over majority. And we are just being hypocrites in this country.
And you're determining the minority based on religion when we are not a country that is religious.
That is incorrect. That is incorrect.
We are a secular country. You're saying that is incorrect.
We are not a secular country. Look, I can show you, I can push a publication to you where president was addressing somewhere. And he said that our constitution is a secular, but Ghana is a Christian country. You have a Christian forming 70% of your population and you say it's a secular country. It's not. It's not. Muslims are 17% of the population. And then our traditional authorities and others also form the rest. So in every democracy, majority rules. That's why I was making a statement that, look, there is no a smarter politician in this country than J.J. Rowling. Do you know why?
No.
When we were entering a Fourth Republic, J.J. managed to win the sympathies of the Muslims too, his side. And realizing that Christians form the majority of this country, he decided to go Christian. Show me. From 1992 up to now, apart from, was it one of the, listen, that Mumuni came in as a running mate. Apart from that, NDC has never failed any Muslim because they have studied and they realize that, look, Christians dominate. So always they go Christian, and they win. So there's nothing wrong to stand before Christians and say that, do this to me. Let me give you one example. I was looking for that video and sent to your producer, where Don Mahama was invited to a Muslim program. Dr. Bawumia was there. Don Mahama spoke, and then he quoted some of their Quran, so. When Bawumia took over, go and see how he was messing him up. That now, because your Mahama won their vote, it's now coming to Muslim program. So let us pray and make sure he turn to a Muslim and all those kind of things. He was speaking in Abuja. And the way he was laughing, and he called John Mahama Malam Don. Nobody in MPP saw that as reckless. Nobody in MPP saw that as backward.
In fact, questions were raised. The fact that within the MPP questions were not raised doesn't mean that questions should not be raised by others. If the issue is with the new patriotic, in fact, when Dr. Bawumia said that questions were raised,
than other. Nobody is more Ghanaian than other. If Bawumia says it and nobody can ask question, nobody can see anything wrong. If another person says it, there's nothing wrong about that. There's nothing wrong. Who is more Ghanaian than other?
That's an interesting yardstick to use. Because the fact that somebody does something wrong does not excuse your wrong, does it?
So if I say I am a Muslim, vote for me. Then
because you are a Muslim.
But if I say I'm a Christian, vote for me, there is something wrong.
No, I'm saying that what he said, if it was wrong, what Alan said. But I want to ask you a question. Would Alan Kyerematen seek the vote of Muslims in this election?
Why not? Why not? When he meets Muslims, he'll talk to them. They should vote for him. You see, one thing we are missing is that Allah was not sitting on radio making this statement. Allah was not at a rally ground making this statement. He was making the statement in a church. Except you are not a politician. If you're a politician, your messages will vary from one point to another. So you get to a point, you study the people you are meeting, then you speak to them. You cannot go and meet teachers and you'll be talking about buying guns for them. You cannot.
Mr. Adorye, please kindly hold on for me. We have Mr. Richard Ahiagba on the other line. Thank you very much for your time. Good morning to you, Richard.
Good morning, sir.
I hope you're doing well.
Quite well. You abandoned me, but okay.
Well, let's start with your issue.
I can't hear Richard. I can't hear Richard.
Okay, we'll try and rectify that. But I can hear him, and I'm sure our listeners can. Even if you don't hear it, I'll summarize whatever he said.
That would be unfair. I want to hear him.
Well, we'll work around it. But Richard, you have an issue with what was said by Mr. Alan Kyerematen. What's your issue with it?
Thank you. Stella, is my brother Hopeson say he can't hear me? That's what he said.
Hopeson, can you hear him?
No, I can't hear him, sir.
You still can't hear him?
Yes.
Okay. But please, Richard, go ahead.
Okay, so Sarah, thank you, and good morning to your listeners. I apologize. I was supposed to be at your studios on Friday, but something came up. I couldn't come, so I duly apologize for that. So on this matter, I will tell you by saying that earlier I know my brother Hopeson, who is a good member of our party, has worked very hard, was misled to follow the Honorable Alan Kyerematen, who himself was misled by his own ideas to lead the party. They belong to the MPP, but then somehow, for personal and some other parochial sentiments, they've left the party. But today, and following that statement, I've come to fully understand why he left the party, and I can say on authority or some version of, with some measure of conviction, that my brother Hopeson should come back because he's been grossly misled. The reason Honorable Alan Kyerematen left the MPP is very, very clear to me now. It has nothing to do with the false claims of I have been cheated. It has nothing to do with anything to do with the election, but everything to do with a possible election of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And that for me is very sad. You see, it is nowhere in our constitution, I think Article 62 talks about qualification to be president of this country. There is nowhere in that constitution, which is the manifest document with which we are working with to grow this democracy in the Fourth Republic. There's nowhere in that document where it says that you must not be a Muslim, you must be a Christian and be a Christ-like leader in order to become president. It's nowhere in that document. And so when anybody, whether in the church, inside the church, or on top of the church, to say something like that, that person, first of all, is misleading the people. Two, is creating division of enormous proportions in this country by introducing that language. By introducing that language, you are aiming at the national security of this country to say that we should distinguish between those who are who subscribe to a Muslim faith and those who subscribe to a Christian faith, and going further to establish that based on that distinction, it is only one class of people, one group of people who can lead this country. So that, respectfully, we are not a theocracy. What Honorable Allah Kojo Chabate said is leading Ghana and presenting Ghana as a theocracy. We are not. And nobody should countenance that, or nobody should try and compare that to anything anybody has said. Because the context is different, the presentation is different, the intent is different. And I want to submit that we desist from that conversation. I hear my brother says that he will say it everywhere he goes. That is very dangerous. But from the outset, we know that their campaign is going nowhere. But now they have actually ditched their campaign because no Ghanaian is in the mood to accept this divisive coverage as acceptable. This divisive coverage as politics as usual. It is not. It's a dangerous conversation, and we should stay away from it.
But he's also suggesting, first, that this is a campaign platform. He was speaking to Christians predominantly. He wasn't speaking to the entire nation.
But now it's before the entire nation. And that is why, the way you behave in private, okay, or you behave in public, should not be in disalignment with the way you behave in private. Because what you are doing in private has potential of coming out. And so you just have to be a consistent human being. And so if Hopeson is excusing for that conversation to have been a private conversation in the four walls of a church, then the credibility, the integrity of their candidacy is questionable, because they behave differently in private and behave differently in public. And I think that is a dangerous character of a leader. That is worse for us to actually be excusing him on that basis, because what he says to us in the day should be the same thing he says to us in the night. There shouldn't be any inconsistency in his presentation. Otherwise, as a leader, you can't trust him, because he will tell you something in the morning, in the afternoon, he will tell you something different. That is character question of the candidates that my brother Hopeson is presenting, if that is his argument. If he is making the argument that, because he was in the church, he's free to tell Christians that Muslims cannot be a leader, which is not factual. So when he meets Muslims, what would he tell them? When then Alan Chamantin goes to meet the national chief imam, what will he tell him? That Muslims can be president now? Is that what he's going to say? Would you trust a person like that to be your president? Now, for me, this is not even a campaign issue for me. This is about a human issue. This is about a citizen issue. This is about security issue. So let's put aside the politics of it. It is just an inappropriate comment to make by one who is seeking to be a leader of this country. That is the emphasis. It has nothing to do with politics. Completely. It just has everything to do with you being a good member of society. You don't divide the society you are seeking to build. And this comment, Senator, I can tell you that is the worst comment yet made in this Fourth Republic by any politician, because it has the potential to break this country apart. And we should say it as it is. And I was saying just yesterday on a different program that personally, Honorable Akojo, but I have great respect for him. He's a good politician. He's had great opportunity to serve our party and country. And so, ordinarily, as an individual, I have great respect for him. You understand? Even though I didn't support him to become our flag bearer, if he had become the flag bearer, I would work for him with all my heart and make sure he becomes the president of this state. But on the basis of what he's saying now, I have every conviction to disagree with him. And if he were our candidate and he said this, I would disagree with him. quite simply because for me, I appreciate the diversity of our country, and in fact, our party appreciates the diversity of this country and wishes to leverage that as a development tool, not as a tool to divide Ghanaians, but to bring Ghanaians together so we can work and enhance our chances of building a prosperous country. And so he is completely out of the space for this conversation, and we should just call it what it is, an unacceptable, divisive comment that should not be repeated by anybody. Whatever your motives are, it should not be repeated because that can destroy this country.
But he says what you're expressing is what is typically called selective outrage. That where it concerns somebody within your party, you are quiet. But when it comes to somebody that's outside your country, your party, you come and you are speaking that what he said is not different from what Dr. Bawumia said during the campaign. Vote for me because I am a Muslim. I was voted because I am Muslim. Are you saying you didn't hear any of those?
Repeat what you just said. I didn't
that Dr. Bawumia during the elections. In fact, there's a video. If you like, I'll share. I think that this will help the discussion. Let me share with you. This is a video that was making the rounds.
Let's look at what will benefit our people. I have been selected partly because I'm a Muslim. So I'm selected because I'm one of you.
Yama Owi Akwa Baba, Mansai Media College. Mansai Media College a school power a TV so any radio so dwumadie ya so ye e Kumase atonsu baby a uwo bia o pese ba Mansai Media College na be hu dwumadie yedi ne hono a yentie dwumadie yedi no Mansai Media College
se usua bribi wo media mu ana o pese ohunu bribi biara e fa media ho enso eche kra
Mansai Media College e wo homa
ye wa achechefo a wa kwadiri yie wa de twemu na in studio ni ye newsroom de edi twem wonsam twemu no ye twe bribi ti se kasebo akenkan ni sinicha ni bebura ekeka ho wo multimedia mu nso ye twe bribi ti se sini mfoni asiesie mfoni nitwa ni bebura ekeka ho ye betumi nso aboa ama wo de na otwepe asunya bribi wo nkitahudie adwuma ahodo nyinaa mu esanse ye wo yankasa foni nti abwe biara ye ma ya adesuafo kwan ma okọ yode ya twerɛ won adesua dan mu no
ahwefo ehu ekame ese obi biara a wole bosomtwe ase enim agbakosema efa nsuo ihu menya abofra kitu bi wa ha ono so se onim agbakosema efa le bosomtwe ho
abusuafo ye mama kwaba eba Ghana Pages TV so emra so se the trending issues near koso ewo abe for time fidie ni so ebe somo midin na naje wa akode
Mansai Media College e ma o de we hia bia wo nkutahudie mu